Right, Jez, thanks for talking. What is your aim on this transfer window for Lincoln City?
Yeah, I think it's the same as every transfer window. Look, you want to go out of the window stronger than you came in it. We're aware that January is much more difficult to do that in than the summer because there's no players that are out of contract. So you're looking at a market that is going to be quite scarce, with lots of clubs looking probably for the same thing. But we know where we need to strengthen. Obviously, we've suffered a couple of real big long-term injuries just before the close of the last window in Ben House and Tyler Walker. Then with Rico's injury on top of that, that's put a real strain on the group. So obviously we need to bring some firepower in to help the group, and there's probably a couple of other positions that, in discussing that with Michael and the coaching staff, if we can improve in this window we will, but obviously also aware of how difficult that's going to be, and also trying to solve a couple of problems in terms of those not playing regularly getting some football in the second half of the season.
In terms of creating space in the squad and budget, I would like to see a kind of bit of player trading ins and outs a bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think if we want to bring players in, then we have some financial parameters to work within, and you know, the board and the ownership are really helpful with what we're trying to do. But there are parameters, so yeah, we need to be creative. We need to also find solutions because players want to play football. So those who aren't getting regular starts, we need to try and find opportunities for them, and that will then help us to find spaces to bring players in. Realistically, the majority of that is going to be in the loan market. You know, we've got a couple of spaces, and with Jack going back to Blackburn, that creates an extra space. So we are in a better position than this time last year when those, you know, we didn't have the ability to do that. So yeah, let me tell you, the competition is huge, and when you're looking at the top end of the pitch for people who score goals, we know who we'd like to bring, but lots of other clubs are trying to do exactly the same. So I think the way this window tends to work is there's a little bit of activity at the start and then perhaps a little bit at the end. So we're trying to just make sure that the early movement we're in control of, and we're doing the absolute best we can to give the group and everybody around the club a little bit of a boost.
Jack Moylan has been with us for a few weeks, but we've now completed the transfer, which was a slight change, him and everyone free contract. Why was that change necessary?
Yeah, so just to be clear, Jack was out of contract in November, but it's a cross-border transfer, and it's also, Jack's under 23 years old, so there was always going to be compensation required for Shelbourne. We're aware of that all the way through the negotiation. The difference is really that we can go to FIFA and there's a calculator, and we can rely on them to determine the compensation, or the two clubs can just do what everybody should do and agree that compensation, so that it's much neater, much tidier, and then, you know, it accelerates the process as well for getting Jack's international clearance so that he's available for the game at Wycombe. So, you know, we try and work diligently in knowing what is required in these deals, but also respectfully with the club, and understanding that, you know, Jack was a Shelbourne player up until November, and it's much better for us if we can reach an agreement with that club for future deals. And you know, Ireland's a small place, and it's important that we continue to have a reputation for doing the right thing by clubs. So reaching an agreement and having it neater when compensation was due anyway is definitely the preferable way, and that's what we've achieved.
Freddy Draper has been recalled from Warsaw. Why do we choose to do that?
Yeah, I think Freddy's just had a really good 2023. You know, every challenge that's been put in front of him, he's excelled in. You know, he went to Ireland and did very well for Drogheda. Even before he started scoring goals, his performance level was excellent, really aggressive, had a massive reputation within that league very quickly, where all the clubs in that league, at the top end of the league, were chasing him. It then enabled him to have some opportunities in the summer where a number of League Two clubs were trying to sign him, and Walsall looked the right fit. They were excellent in their approach and how they went about things, and Freddy's just probably even exceeded our expectations in terms of how he's dealt with that opportunity in the first half of the season, how he's led the line for them. You know, I don't pick the team at Walsall, but, you know, in speaking a lot to Matt Sadler, their head coach, probably become their number one centre forward and been the first name on the team sheet and led the line and scored double figure number of goals. So look, everybody's watched our team play and knows the struggles we've had since, you know, Ben's injury, Tyler's injury. Once they happened so close to the end of the window, it was impossible for us to do anything. So I just think Freddie's our boy. He's come through our system. He's our player. He scored 18 goals in the last calendar year. He gives us something different, and he's earned the opportunity. And Michael has watched him extensively. You know, he's seen all his games for Walsall. We've kept in touch, obviously. We've watched him live. We know his progress, and we just think it's the absolute, I think I put in the press release, it's an absolute no-brainer. Like, we need him back in our building. We need him to have opportunities here in the second half of the year to see if he can replicate anything like what he's done with Walsall. If he does, that's a very exciting position for us and Freddy to be in. But we've got every belief in him. That's everyone at the football club, and he's shown in just one level below what he's been capable of doing in the last 6 months with everyone's backing. And I'm sure he'll get that here, and we can look forward to him causing problems to defenders in League One as he's done in League Two for the last 6 months.